Welcome back, everybody. And in the last two lectures, we understood the entire concept of GST. So, what GST is, why it was brought. Now, in this lecture, we'll understand what are the major changes which happened because of GST. Like there were multiple taxes, so many taxes were there, and now after GST, many taxes are removed and one tax, one nation, that is GST, is brought. So, what are the taxes which were actually subsumed into GST? That means they are now not applicable. That taxes are removed and ultimately GST is brought. So, central government actually there are many taxes which were subsumed. State government there are many taxes subsumed. Let us discuss all that. So let's start with the first one, that is central taxes subsumed. There was a tax called as central excise duty. It was on the manufacture of goods in India. So if you manufacture any goods in India, central excise duty was levied. That central excise duty is now subsumed into GST. So presently not applicable, right? Service tax was there. That means any service rendered in India, on that service tax has to be paid. But that is also subsumed into GST. Central sales tax was there. That means if you sell goods from one state to another state, central sales tax was levied. That is also subsumed into GST. Then there were many surcharges and cesses which the central government was to levy. Like Krishi Kalyan cess was there. So these type of surcharges which were there, cesses were there, that all are now subsumed into GST, right? So what we discussed, central excise duty, service tax, central sales tax, surcharges and cesses. Similarly, in the customs law, that means customs is related to import and export of goods into India. Because when we import the goods from outside India, there is no excise duty because we are paying only customs duty. So, equivalent to the excise duty, equivalent to the sales tax also, they levied a countervailing duty and special countervailing duty. That is also not applicable now. It is subsumed into GST. So, five taxes let us remember. Central excise duty, central sales tax, service tax, countervailing duty and special countervailing duty, surcharges and cesses. These are central taxes which are subsumed into GST. Now, state taxes which are subsumed. There are many. I'll tell you, value added tax was there. VAT, or we can also call it as sales tax. If sale happens within one state, VAT was levied, value added tax. So that is subsumed into GST. State government was to levy entertainment tax. So some entertainment event happens in the state, they were to levy entertainment tax. So on concerts, on events, right? That even if you watch IPL matches before 2017, there was entertainment tax, state wise entertainment tax. That is subsumed. Luxury tax was there. If you are buying some luxury products, luxury tax was there, right? Purchase tax. Oh, if you sell, sales tax. If you buy, purchase tax. If goods come within into the state, entry tax. Octroi was also levied, right? So many state level taxes were there. And again tax on winnings from lottery, betting, gambling, surcharge and cesses at state level. So many taxes which central state governments were to levy that are subsumed into GST. Let's recap. I said value added tax. I said state entertainment tax. I said octroi, entry tax, purchase tax, tax on winnings from lottery, betting, gambling. Are you able to connect? Right? These are all the taxes, right? Luxury tax which we discussed, which were subsumed into GST. State taxes subsumed. In exam, they may ask you either an MCQ on this, 1 mark question, or a very short question for 2 marks maybe. What are the state taxes subsumed under GST? So you should be able to give the list of this. What are the central taxes subsumed? You should be able to give the list. One more thing I'll tell you, there are certain taxes which are not subsumed even after GST. That means they are independently continuing still now. Right? They have not merged into GST. They are independently charged. What are they? First is basic customs duty. Suppose example, if you import the goods into India, definitely customs duty is leviable. And because destination is India, destination you understand, right? The place where the goods are supplied is India. So GST also levied. So basic customs duty is not subsumed, is still continuing. Similarly, state government levies property taxes. State government also levies stamp duty. On that they levy taxes. Similarly, electricity cess. So if you consume electricity, the government levies electricity cess. So these are not subsumed. The basic customs duty, I said, property tax and stamp duty tax. Then we discussed that electricity cess is there, local authority entertainment tax is there, right? These are not subsumed. These still continue even after GST. Okay. Excise duty on alcoholic liquor for human consumption. Similarly, excise duty on petroleum products. I'll also tell you VAT on petroleum products, VAT on alcoholic liquor. Right? These are taxes which are still continuing even after GST. So, what are the taxes I said? Right? Even after GST, these taxes are not subsumed. That means these are still continuing. Basic customs duty, property taxes, including stamp duty related taxes, right? Your electricity cess I was talking about, correct? I also said, right? Other than electricity cess, what I said, your, hmm? I forgot. How can it happen? Right? Again, let's start with, right? Electricity cess, property tax and stamp duty tax, basic customs duty, local authorities entertainment taxes, right? Excise duty on petroleum products, right? Excise duty on alcoholic liquor. Similarly, VAT on alcoholic liquor, VAT on petroleum products. So these are taxes which are still not subsumed. These still continue even after GST has been implemented. One more classic example is the excise duty on tobacco products. Right? Excise duty on tobacco products. Not only excise duty is still continuing, additionally GST is implemented on it. So central government collects excise duty on tobacco products, and central government and state government both collect the GST. Right? This you should be able to understand. So we are clear with central taxes subsumed, state taxes subsumed, and those taxes which are not subsumed. Now let us try to understand that what are the GST laws in India. Because when they brought the GST, how they brought? With the dual model. Dual model means where central government and state government together levy the tax. That means when you pay the tax, part of the amount will go to central government, part of the amount will go to state government. Or I can say equal part will go to central and state both. So because India is a federal country, you understand federal means where dual government is there. Central government is there, state government is there. So when dual government structure is there in India, GST also will be directed to both the governments directly. Part of the amount will go to central, part of the amount will go to state. This is how you are supposed to understand. And that's why here you can see the theory dual GST model. Right? If you think about countries like Australia, the central government will collect all the indirect taxes, that is GST, and part of the amount they will distribute to the states. Right? So this is what the system is. But in India, it's not like that. In India, the software is designed such that the gst.gov.in website is designed such that whenever you pay the tax, half will go to central government bank account, half will go to state government bank account. This way you are supposed to understand. So dual GST model clear? Now let's understand what are the taxes under GST. What are the laws under GST? In detail I am going to discuss. So for that I have to teach you certain words so that you will be able to properly understand. I went to Santosh Dhaba, right, a vegetarian restaurant where good food is offered. So I went there, I ate something. After that I got the bill. When I saw the bill, along with the price of the product, they added two types of GSTs. One is CGST, another one is SGST. Similarly, suppose if I go to Andaman and Nicobar Island and eat there something, then definitely CGST will be there. But Andaman and Nicobar Island is a union territory, correct? So that's why UTGST will be there. Okay. So if it is a state, SGST. If it is a union territory, UTGST is there. So on the same lines, actually these laws are made. Now, let me tell you. When I ate in Telangana within one state, that is at Hotel Santosh Dhaba, that means it is an intra-state supply. More detailed discussion we'll do later on, but still to understand the law, I should explain these words. Intra, I-N-T-R-A, I-N-T-R-A. That means intra. That means within one state. So if it is within one state, CGST and SGST will apply. If it is within one union territory, then CGST and UTGST will apply. But suppose if the sale of goods, supply of goods is from one state to another state, from Gujarat to Goa, from Manipur to Mizoram, from Arunachal Pradesh to Assam, from Hyderabad to Himachal Pradesh. So from one state to another state, if the goods are supplied or if the services are rendered, in that case, IGST will be levied. That means Integrated Goods and Services Tax. So if it is from one state to another, IGST, Integrated Goods and Services Tax. This way you should actually understand the topic. Okay. Now, we understood different types of taxes. What is CGST, what is SGST and UTGST. Right? If it is a supply within one state, then CGST, SGST. If it is within one union territory, CGST and UTGST. If it is from one state to another, then only one, that is IGST. Right? So now let's go to the laws. Tell me, CGST, the law's name is Central Goods and Services Tax Act 2017. It is on intra-state supply. Intra means within one state. And how many laws are there? Only one. Correct? Now, similarly, SGST. Now, there are 31 different states, right? Including two which are union territories but have a state legislature. Okay? These are union territories with state legislature. So that's why in these type of states, they are 31 in number. If supply happens within one state, then intra-state supply CGST will be applicable. Then for that, State Goods and Services Tax Act 2017 was passed. And there are 31 State Goods and Services Tax Act for each state, including 2 UTs with state legislation. Similarly, UT GST. This is also within one state, within one union territory. If the supply is, then definitely UT GST will apply. Only one UT GST law. Because union territories are managed by central government. So central government need not make a separate law for each union territory. Right? States may be managed by central government, right? Centrally ruled party, right? So we cannot say, right? Suppose, take the example of Telangana. I will tell you, central government is formed by BJP government. Telangana government is formed by Congress, right? If you go to West Bengal, state government is Trinamool Congress, right? If you go to Madhya Pradesh, the state government is ruled by BJP. So what I wanted to tell, some states may be ruled by the party which is ruling the country, the parliament. Some states may be ruled by a different party. So considering this structure, what happens is every state has their separate GST law. Whereas union territories directly ruled by central government. So that's why what happens is UT GST, there is a single law only. You would have heard Dadra and Nagra Haveli, Daman and Diu, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, right? Lakshadweep. So these are union territories. And there is a single law for all union territories, UT GST 2000, Act 2017. Now only one thing left. That is IGST, Integrated Goods and Services Tax. Integrated Goods and Services Tax. So if supply happens from one state to another state, then IGST will apply. If supply happens from outside India, within India, then IGST will be applicable. Because GST is a destination based tax and it's applicable to whole of India. So anything supplied in India, sold in India, whether it is from outside India or whether it is within India, from one state to another, then IGST will apply. So IGST Act 2017 was passed and it's a single law for interstate supply. If it is one state to another state, what is the word used? Interstate supply. INTER, state supply. So from Gujarat to Maharashtra, if goods are sold, it is INTER, state supply. From Maharashtra's Nagpur to Nasik, if the goods are sold, they are sold within one state, correct? Within one state. So CGST, SGST will apply. Okay. If it is from one state to another, then IGST will apply. This way we understood the different laws under GST. We also understood the dual GST model. Clear? Now let us try to understand one more concept, and that is GST compensation cess. Goods and Services Tax compensation cess. How it works, let us try to understand. Ultimately, all the state governments were actually not ready for GST. But Modi ji won the elections and he was very serious that one nation, one tax should be there. So what he did, he tried to approach the states, convince the states that please accept, please agree, let us bring a big revolution in taxation. But the state government did not agree. Then the government said, okay, no problem. After bringing GST, your revenues will increase. If it does not increase, central government will compensate you. Okay? Central government will pay you. Whatever loss happens to the state governments, that central government agreed that it will pay. And for that, there was a law required, and they brought the law that Goods and Services Tax Compensation to States Act 2017. What is the law's name? Right? Goods and Services Tax Compensation to States Act 2017. Now, why compensation is required? Because state governments were skeptical that okay, we are getting some taxes now, but if you bring GST, if we don't get the taxes, what to do? To give that confidence among the states, the central government promised that up to 5 years from 2017 to 22, the central government will compensate whatever loss suffered by the state governments. Any loss state government suffer, the central government will pay. First they gave for 5 years, but then it is again extended to 5 more years. That means the central government will pay the compensation for loss to the states. First they agreed to pay for 5, then now it is 10 years. Okay. So this is what the background story, right? Now, on what products actually this compensation cess can be levied? There are totally 6 products. One, obviously, tobacco and tobacco products. Then cigars and cigarettes. Aerated water, that means you purchase bottled water, correct? That. Then motor car, pan masala, right? This way you should understand. Coal and lignite also. So pan masala, tobacco and tobacco products, right? Pan masala, tobacco and tobacco products, right? Coal and lignite, cigars and cigarettes, aerated water, motor car. On these 6 products, GST compensation cess is levied. So that means the CGST, SGST, IGST not applicable. Only this compensation cess. The answer is no. All that GST will apply. Beyond that, this GST is applicable. GST compensation cess is applicable. Clear to all of you? Yes. Now, let us actually discuss further that okay, this GST compensation cess is applicable. No doubt about it. Right? So what we discussed, that GST compensation to states act 2017. The states were skeptical about revenue, so central government promised will pay 5 years of losses. Then central government again promised to further pay for 5 years losses to the states. But please bring GST. Then finally states agreed to bring. But from where the central government will pay the money? For that, they introduced this GST compensation cess. On which products it is levied? Pan masala, tobacco and tobacco products, cigars and cigarettes, aerated water, coal and lignite, motor car. On these products it is levied. But when it should be levied? Generally, when supply of goods happen, at that time only CGST, SGST applicable. Correct? In intra-state sale, obviously at that time only CGST, SGST applicable. So compensation cess should also be applicable at the same time, right? Not later on. Similarly, when you deal from one state to another state, IGST is applicable. As and when the IGST is charged, at the same time, additionally, GST compensation cess should also be charged. This way you should understand. Now, when at the time of intrastate or interstate supply, when other GSTs are levied along with it on these six products only, not more than that, right? GST compensation cess should also be charged. Okay, but can we claim the credit of it, input tax credit of it? The answer is absolutely yes. So whatever GST compensation cess you paid, on that you can claim the credit. That means if you have any input compensation cess, that can be adjusted. Are you clear? If there are any input compensation cess that are applicable, that can be adjusted, set off from output GST compensation cess. So in simple language, whatever cess related loss in the past, that can be adjusted from cess related income next year. So GST compensation cess, if you have paid already, right, that will lie down as credit, and whenever you have to pay further, that can be adjusted. Now this becomes complicated for you, I understand, because it's just the first chapter, right? Right. I already showed you multi-point tax system on value addition, correct? It works similar to that. Okay, right? Output compensation cess minus input compensation cess should be paid to the government. That's the basic funda. Okay, but suppose if some assessee is engaged in composition scheme, he is not collecting any tax from customers. He is just paying tax from his own pocket. So in that case, those who are following composition scheme, no GST compensations as applicable. So if you are actually trying to pay tax under composition scheme, well, fine, but GST compensations as not applied. If you are an exporter also, for you GST compensations as do not apply, right? Because whatever as an exporter you paid the taxes, you will claim it back, right? Because government has to promote exports for that purpose, right? So what we discussed till now, we discussed GST Compensation to States Act 2017. Ultimately, to pay off the losses of the states after implementing GST. First 5 years it was promised after bringing GST, but extended to 10 years. Okay, on pan masala, tobacco and tobacco products, cigars and cigarettes. Are you able to connect? Motor car. On these type of products, coal and lignite, GST compensation cess applies. The assessee can claim the input tax credit for GST compensation cess. If it is composition scheme, then this will not apply. This way you are supposed to understand the things. Now how to compute the thing? Okay, we understood that input tax credit can be claimed. Okay. We understood on composition scheme or on exports, this is not applicable. Fine. But to whomever it is applicable, how to compute, how to adjust, reduce the tax. Let us discuss. First thing, I'll tell you. I said that basically in 2015-16, what was the revenue to the states? Please check. In 2015-16, what was the revenue to the states? That means tax revenue to the states. Then to that, add 14% inflation every year. So what did we understood? Revenue to the states plus 14% extra. Every year 14% added on the added amount. Correct? This way they will compute. Now let us try to understand. Okay, we discussed about GS. So, एक second, 1 second. Step 1 here, that in 2015-16, what was the revenue to the states? Step 2 clear, 14% we added the inflation, right? And that too continuously the table should be created. Step 3, what is the revenue to the state, including that IGST component, which they will get, right? देखो, ultimately, I said IGST is a tax on interstate supply. Yes or no? From one state to another state, if goods are supplied, then central government will collect IGST. Half of that IGST will be paid to the destination state. Destination means buyer's state. Okay. So in step 3, what we are doing, we are actually computing the SGST which the state got plus the IGST portion which the state is going to get. Now compare with step 2. If step 2 is more and this GST is less, then central government has to compensate. Central government has to pay to the states. Okay? Central government has to pay to the states. Now let us try to understand further. Okay, central government has to pay the difference. But how will they pay? So whatever GST compensation cess is received, in that 50% will go to Consolidated Fund of India. In simple language, to the central government's fund. To the central government's pocket. This is more easy? Very. Balance 50% will be used by the central government to pay to the state governments. To pay to the state governments. So this is how we should actually understand the GST compensation cess, right? Clear. Now, let me recap for all of you. Again, come on, quickly we'll try to recap. What they said. GST compensation cess, right? Why it is brought with the law GST Compensation to States Act 2017. Because ultimately state governments were not ready. We have to compensate the state governments if there is any loss. For that purpose, central government brought this law. Okay. For first 5 years, the central government promised to pay to the state. Further 5 years is extended. So presently for total 10 years from the date of implementation of GST, that is from 1st July 2017, state governments are compensated for any loss. But for compensation, central government will collect the money in the name of GST compensation cess. From where it will collect? From the products like pan masala, tobacco and tobacco products, cigars and cigarettes, correct? Are you able to collect? Motor car, aerated waters, coal and lignite, correct? Can we claim as an assessee, as a buyer, right? Can we claim the credit of the cess? The answer is input GST compensation cess can be deducted from output GST compensation cess. That means output GST compensation cess cannot be used for paying CGST, SGST, UTGST or even IGST. When it is levied, obviously at the time of levying these GSTs only. So GST compensation cess is levied at the time of levying these taxes, but cannot be used to set off the inputs of these taxes. On composition scheme, right, this compensation is not applicable to that assessees, right? So if an assessee is covered under the composition scheme, for them this act will not apply. Exporter, this act will not apply. And if this act applies, and how to compute the share which central government is supposed to pay. For that, three-step formula. Step 1, 2015-16 tax revenues to the states. Step 2, add 14% increment every year. Step 3, GST collections of the state plus IGST collection shared with the states. Compare this with the step 2. If GST is more, no need to pay any compensation. But if GST is less, then central government is supposed to pay to states. How will they pay? We discussed it. That whatever GST compensation cess is received, 50% will go to Consolidated Fund of India, that is central government pocket, and balance 50% will be paid to the state governments. This is how things work. Now, what are the benefits of GST? We'll discuss. Now, benefits of GST are many, but still we'll discuss few. Correct? Benefits are for the business community, for the governments, for the customers, for everybody. I'll tell what is there in the textbook and what is there actually. Both I'll try to compare. Okay. First thing, for businessmen, what is the easy thing? Easy compliance. Earlier, when we think about the laws, excise duty, service tax, sales tax, VAT, right? These were manual processes, mostly manual. So the businessman or his accountant or his CA or CMA has to go to the offices regularly, visit there for payment of taxes. So lot of time consumption, expenditures incurred, all that problems were there. But now after bringing GST, it's completely online. You just open your computer and start filing the GST returns or paying the GST taxes. Even GST registration is done online. So, for businessman, he can focus on business and this compliance of GST becomes super easy. Right? Need not roam here and there behind all the government babus. So, easy compliance for the businessman. Earlier, there were multiple taxes, multiple rates of taxes, multiple laws, and in each law, multiple rates. Quite confusing. Correct? But after bringing GST, there is uniformity. So similar rates are there, right? There is no such confusion. So uniformity is brought, right? That's why we say na one nation, one tax, right? So uniformity is there, uniform rates are there, right? This state has less tax, that state has more tax, nothing like that. All states have almost same laws, same rates, right? So this will help the businessman to think from business perspective, not from tax saving perspective. Right? Tax saving should be a part of the story for the businessman. Businessman, he should think of growing as a business. So this uniformity in tax rates helps that. So easy compliance, uniformity, same rates, same laws across the country, correct? Similarly, removal of cascading effect of taxation. Now, before GST, there was tax on tax, tax on tax. So, there were many taxes actually, right? But what happened? Now, taxes are subsumed. Second, there is a proper IT infrastructure which can help the genuine businessman to claim the credit. So, you are not paying tax on tax now. And that's the benefit of GST. So what we can say, the removal of cascading effect of taxation. Clear to all of you? Right. Let us try to understand. First, for businessmen, what is the benefit? Easy compliance, uniformity, correct? Third one, removal of cascading effect of taxation. So there is no concept of tax on tax, tax on tax, tax on tax now after GST. Earlier it was there, but not now. Right? So what we discussed? Easy compliance, uniformity, right? Then we discussed it, that removal of cascading effect. That is, tax on tax is removed now, right? Tax should be only on value, not on tax. Correct? Then further we discussed it, that business competitiveness has increased. Now why this is an advantage? Because businessmen now need not travel to multiple offices for different tax purposes. He has to sit in his office, work on the laptop, and pay the GST, register for GST, file the return under GST, all that at a click through the information technology. So that actually helped the businessman to focus more on doing business rather than just the tax compliance. So that's why competitiveness in the business have increased. Even businesses, the NRIs or foreign companies who wanted to come to India, were fed up with the complex tax structure. Now, such tax structure has been simplified with GST. So, easy compliance is an advantage which the businessman will get. Uniformity in tax rates, removal of cascading effect of taxes, improved competitiveness of the business. And obviously, it will boost the manufacturing, right? So production is increasing. You will be shocked to hear, I'll tell you, that India has reached in the top 4 manufacturing hubs of the world. Top 4, right? So we always think about that there are many countries which are rich. I agree, maybe. But we are in the top 4, right? When we are in the top 4 in terms of manufacturing, then what will happen? Of course, manufacturing gets a boost because of things becoming easy, right? So, boost to manufacturing, right? That's the advantage. Now, let's continue with the next two. Businessman, we understood. Easy compliance is there, right? Uniformity of taxes is there. Then we discuss removal of cascading effect of taxation. Then improved competitiveness, right? We discussed all this and boost to manufacturing and exports. So this is practically evident because when tax laws become simple, the businessman will be more happy to continue. And that's what GST has been. Similarly, government also has advantage. Why? Because earlier there are hundreds of taxes, hundreds of departments. So government has to control. Very difficult. But now, one nation, one tax. So administrative costs have decreased. Administration efficiency has increased. Less leakage. Now, even a small tea vendor or a small dosa idli tiffin seller who are setting up shops outside, these people are also required to pay GST if their limit cross. Okay, limit of turnover cross, they also have to pay GST. So what did you learn? You learned that government's revenue increase. So I already said to you, government is able to administer things well. Now earlier there was lot of leakage because everything was manual. People were to submit dummy bills. So it was manual and it created problems. But now for government there is no leakage of revenue. Right? Government revenues increased actually. Every time you see 1,80,000 per month collection of GST, 1,90,000, 2 lakh crores, right? Like that, every time it is continuously trying to reach new heights. So increase revenue. And ultimately, it's a boost to Make in India initiative, right? People should come to India, produce certain goods, right? So that's a boost by making taxes So government, what is the advantage to government? Better administrative control, less leakage of taxes, increased revenue, and finally make in India is boosted. Right? Last, to the customers, what is the advantage? Because ultimately customer knows what is the tax. Earlier, customer was not even able to understand that what is the amount of tax he is paying. Right? Presently, you see the bill, you will see at the last CGST, SGST, that is, this is the tax I am paying. So it is transparent, it is clear now. But in olden days, on the manufacture of the product, excise duty was levied. It became a part of the cost. Then profit added, VAT is levied or central sales tax is levied. So this way, what is the actual tax you are paying as a customer? You never understood. But now it is at least quite simple, transparent system. And finally, this is an advantage which textbooks say, right? So in reality, I'll tell later on. Okay. So what the textbook say? Textbook simply say that because GST reduced the taxes, so ultimately the burden on the customers decrease. I'll tell you, in the olden days, excise duty 16%, VAT 14%. So this way, they were to pay huge amount of indirect taxes. But after GST, what is the advantage? Because tax rate is less. So that's why customers are paying less taxes and they are saving more money. That's what the advantage. But the bad luck, I'll tell you, here government decreases the tax rates. There the businessman increases the price of the products. This way, the benefit ultimately they do not reach the customer. It is encashed by the businessman. Are you able to connect? This is the reality. Because suppose example, in olden times, on 100 rupees product, you paid 30%, 30 rupees tax. So as a customer, you paid 130 rupees. But after GST, it became 18%. So 100 plus 18, 118 only the customer should have paid. Correct? But what the businessman did? They increased the price from 100 to 112. So after increasing the price, the percentage GST applied, and finally the customer is paying same thing. Businessman is enjoying. This is what happened with GST. So, okay, textbook wise, you will write the same point that the reduced burden of taxes on the consumers, like that you'll write. But in reality, it is not so. Right? Okay. Now we'll discuss about GST Council. So, what is GST Council? We'll try to understand. First thing, it is given in section 2, clause 36 of the Central Goods and Services Tax Act 2017. So first thing, please understand, it is given in which section? 2 clause 36 of the Central Goods and Services Tax Act. Council means the GST Council as formed under Article 279A of the Constitution. So GST Council is created by the Constitution as per the provisions of the Constitution. Now let me tell you what is the need. Ultimately, in our constitution, we have seen list 1, list 2, list 3, correct? So each list gives separate powers to center, separate powers to state. But here GST, they have to simultaneously, they have to commonly, they have to together work on something. They have to agree and implement. So if center and state have to agree and implement on something, there should be some common platform is required where center and state both meet, and for that this GST council was formed. Okay. So as per section 2 clause 36, council means GST council as formed by article 279A of the constitution. Now who will form this council? The President of India. Right? The President of India will form this council, has formed this council. Okay. Now, the provisions, that means the rules, the law relating to council came into force on 12th September 2016. And this council was actually made into implementation or actually brought into picture, or the council was formed, we can say, on 15th September 2016. So again repeating, as per 2 clause 36, council means GST council formed as per article 279A of the constitution, formed by the president, right? Where state government, central government, both together should come on a common platform, a common forum to discuss what they want to do with GST law and how they want to commonly, simultaneously implement. So, relating to that, the provisions came into force on 12th September 2016, and the GST Council was brought into effect from 15th September 2016. Okay. So 12th September, the provisions were formed, and GST Council was made on 15th September 2016. Now, who is the chair of this GST Council? Obviously, the finance minister of our nation. Presently, Nirmala Sitharaman ji. Who is the second person? Obviously, the Union Minister of States in charge for revenue and finance. Union Minister of States in charge for revenue and finance is the second person. And all others, 31 states. So 31 ministers. Basically, finance ministers of the state should come and be a part. But sometimes they can recommend some other person, they can nominate some other person, and that other person can also be a part of the GST council. But from each state, only one. Right? Obviously, union territories which don't have state legislature are represented by central government. Correct? So Andaman and Nicobar Island, Daman and Diu, these are represented by central government only. So from there, no person will come. Additional person will come. So chairperson is Union Finance Minister, second person is Union Minister of States in charge for revenue and finance. 31 states, right, which includes 2 union territories with state legislature, actually represented by their finance ministers or any other nominated minister, but only one from each state. Now, what these people do in the council? Okay, council, how it is made, right? Who are there? We discussed it. But then what they do? They will first decide. Dekho, I am talking about 2016 year, correct? At that time, GST was not brought. GST did not come into force. So at that time, their first duty was that what are the taxes which we should subsume into GST, which should be incorporated into GST. That means that acts which are to be deleted, whether central acts or state acts, what are that should be deleted. Like we discussed central excise duty, we discussed CST, central sales tax, service tax, we discussed central level surcharges and cesses, we discussed countervailing duty, special countervailing duty, we discussed that value added tax is there, sales tax is there, purchase tax is there, entry tax by state governments are there, tax on luxury is there, entertainment tax by state government is there, tax on lottery, betting, gambling by states is there. So these are all taxes they decided to subsume. So in September 2016, till GST was implemented, they decided what are the taxes should be subsumed. Then on what goods exemption should be given. Like example, vegetables are there. Can you put GST on that? Jawar, bajra, right? These are dals on which no GST should be there. So what are that items which should be kept out of the purview of GST, which should be given exemption, where no GST should be charged? That was also decided. That is also to be decided. And this exemption is continuously updated. Right? They remove something, they add something, that's common. Okay. Then third point you see, model GST law. So how the GST law should be there? Right? Should the central government collect all the taxes and distribute half to the state or some portion to states? Or center and state together should collect, and together their independent share directly should go to their respective bank account? So they decided this. I already said to you that India is a dual GST model. That means both center and state collect the GST simultaneously, and in their bank account separately their share is deposited. Okay. So model GST we discussed. Central government will collect the GST when the supply happens from one state to another. Like I'll say, sale happens from one state to another, or service is provided from one state to another, or suppose example, from outside India goods are imported in India, or services are imported in India. So these type of situations, what happen is central governments make the law, central governments only collect the tax. So they give half of it to the states, basically the destination state. So apportionment of this IGST also they have to think. Similarly, right, they have to think about what should be the place, right? Where what should be the place of the GST? Now you may be thinking what should be the place means what? Suppose you go to a saloon and take some services, the place is saloon. But suppose you are accessing internet through your mobile, you may travel to multiple states. So where the service is given, you are traveling in aeroplane from one state to another state, one place to another place. But the plane travels to multiple states. So in which state the service is given? Goods move from multiple states and reach one state. Or some goods reach this state, some goods reach that state. So there are a lot of questions regarding what should be the place where the goods are supplied, where the service is provided. Relating to these principles, rules should be made. How should we charge GST? Relating to that, some principles should be formed. Up to what turnover GST should not be charged? So basically, we call it as threshold limit. The limit up to which no GST should be charged. What should be the rates of GST? What should be the special rates of GST in case of natural calamities, earthquakes, and all? So these are all the areas which they sit together, they think, they take decisions. There are certain special states like Himachal Pradesh is there, Uttarakhand is there, Meghalaya, Manipur, Mizoram is there, Assam, Arunachal Pradesh is there, Nagaland is there, Sikkim is there, Tripura is there, Jammu and Kashmir is there. So these state needed some special attention, some special rules they wanted that for them some special rules should be made. So okay, let it be. India is a very big country. You cannot say absolutely we'll make the law same for all. So some support can be given to the weaker states. And that's why this Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Mizoram, Manipur, right? Mizoram, Manipur, Meghalaya, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Nagaland, Sikkim, Tripura, Jammu and Kashmir, they got some special status in making the law for the states. Okay. Similarly, should petrol be brought under GST? Aviation turbine fuel, should it be brought under GST? Because under GST, maximum rate of tax is 40%. And already, in terms of petrol, center and state are collecting 100% or more than 100% also. So the states did not agree to bring, or even center was also not ready to bring the petroleum products into GST. But they made a point that the council may decide when should these petroleum products should be brought under the purview of GST. They can decide the date. Okay. So these are all the functions which the GST council does. What I said, what are the taxes should be subsumed, what are the goods for which exemption should be given, what should be the model GST law, how to apportion GST, that is IGST, from center to state when only center collects it, what should be the principles of levy, what should be the principles for place of supply of goods or services, right? What should be the limit up to which no GST, that is threshold limit, what is the rates of tax, what should be the special rates of tax in case of earthquakes, natural calamities, correct? Then special states like I said, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Mizoram, Manipur, Meghalaya, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Sikkim, Tripura, right? Jammu and Kashmir. What should be the special law for this? And when on petroleum products, GST is to be brought. So these are all actually the questions which the council will sit, decide, and work on. And whatever is decided by the council, the central government and state government has to directly implement. They cannot say that council said like this, but we don't believe, we don't agree, we'll do our way. No. When council said, center and states both have to listen. Now, when they conduct the meeting of the GST council, to conduct the meeting, at least 50% attendance should be there. So out of 33 people, at least 17 should be there to conduct the meeting. Correct? Right? Out of 33, if you do half, what will happen? 16.5. But we cannot bring a 16.5%, correct? So 17 people should be there to at least conduct the meeting. Right? Next thing I will tell you that when the meeting is conducted, to take a decision, at least 75% voting should be done. Weighted vote should be there in favor of the decision. 75% of the weighted vote, I said. That means central government has 33% vote. I will simplify it. Central government's vote is treated as 33.33% vote. And all the states together has 66.67% vote. So this 33.33 plus 66.67 together becomes 100%. And into that 75%, if voting happens, then the decision is passed. If 75% weighted vote is not there, the decision is not passed. That's how the GST council works. Right? Attendance how much? Minimum 50%. Then only meeting can be conducted. And after attending the meeting, whoever are present, at least 75% weighted vote should be there to take a decision. 33.33% voting power to center, 66.67% voting power to all the 31 states together. This is how you should remember. Now let's come to the next topic, and that is GSTN. Very easy topic. Actually, GSTN is a company. Which company? Section 8 company. Basically, it's a not-for-profit company. Right? Why it is created? To maintain the GST website. You see, GST website is gst.gov.in. GST website is gst.gov.in. gov.in. So this website they will manage basically. Now, actually government understood that the future is cloud based. Correct? Gone are the days where people were to work only on computers, which is not connected to any other system. Today, we are all working on cloud-based system. The corporates are also working. So with the future vision, government wanted to develop such website or such platform where central government, state government can commonly work. Shared interface we were to use the word. Similarly, the banks have also an account and ultimately the taxpayers can also interact. So all these peoples on a common platform, right? The central government, the state governments, the banking systems, the taxpayers and their representatives obviously. Some taxpayers may be represented by cost and management accountants, some may be represented by CA, some may be represented by lawyers. So all those people also can make the account on it and do their GST work. So it is basically an internet based platform, right? Without internet, it will not work. So on the GST website, what are the things we can do? Basically, we can do registration of the assessment. So earlier for registration, we had to go to different offices, right? Fill that application form and then pay certain fees. Sir, please register. Then the Babu will say, I'll see. Then give some money bribe, then GST, then registration. But not now. Now it is plain simple system. Go online, submit all the documents, give all proper details, your registration would be done. If it is still registration, it's not enough. Right? After registration, you have to pay GST. Payment also should be done through this mode only, this website only. Right? That's why all banks are connected to this website. After payment, how much payments happened, that reconciliation by the central government, by the state governments, with the bank, all that should be done. Right? That also GST will do. GST website will do. Right? Ultimately, after that, the taxpayer's profile should be prepared. That is he a regular taxpayer or is he avoiding the taxes? If he is defaulting in paying the tax or filing returns, let him be punished. Let us send the notice. So all that system is created and that is GST portion. Central government will collect the IGST. That IGST again should be handed over to the state government. For that also technology infrastructure made. Right? Central government will keep its half and balance half they will give to the destination state. For that software computational capability is developed in the GST website. So whether it is registration, whether it is payment of tax, whether it is filing of returns for the assessee, whether it is actually going for grievance, that means I have any complaint, you can go for the complaint also on the GST website only. Beyond that, the central government, state government have a common shared platform for data. They can connect with banks, right? Then the GST website or the GSTN will develop different MIS reports, management information system reports. Because ultimately, what is the GST collections? What are the statistics? From which district it is increasing? From which district it is decreasing? What is the reason maybe? All that analytical data, right? Big data analysis we can say has to be done. So for that, MIS reports also GST website will create. So GST website is doing so many things. Registration, payment, return filing, right? ITC apportionment from center to state, right? With banks, the payment settlement, correct? So these are all things done by GSTN. Ultimately, GSTN is a Section 8 company maintaining IT infrastructure for the government. There are crores of GST registrations. If they file the GST returns on certain days, the GST website should not crash. The GST website should function properly without any glitch, without any delay, right? So, for that purpose, the high end website is developed, right? And it's a big, remarkable achievement that government has made such website, right? With the help of certain players. Now, coming to the last topic of today, that is GST and ASP. GST is a GST Suvidha provider. Suppose I want to pay GST, but I don't know how to pay, how to file, right? All that problems I am facing. So I can go to Clear Tax, and Clear Tax will pay taxes on my behalf, taking all the details, helping me in registration, return filing, payment, and all that. So these organizations which are actually going to support us in GST registration, return filing, payment to us, these are GSPs. And these companies require softwares, correct? Because every businessman don't have very small data. Any businessman have huge data also. Crores of transactions they would have done. Now all that transactions from the persons, actually the businessmen's uh, software, they should be brought into the GSP software, and finally into the government. So for that, proper softwares are required, and that are application service providers. So government and the taxpayer both should connect with each other, right? So to connect with each other for government and taxpayer, GSP, goods, oh, GST Suvidha providers are required. But then connecting with GSP and taxpayer, that is also a challenge. For that, application service providers are required. So this is what the whole concept of GST which we try to understand. There are certain terms which you may not have understood in these lectures. But don't worry. These are actually to be discussed later on in detail. And whenever in detail I'll discuss, you will be able to enjoy, you will be able to understand. And in the next lecture, we'll discuss about the chapter supply, right? What is supply under GST, whether sale is supply, whether provision of service is supply, whether renting is supply, all that we'll try to discuss, right? So stay connected and listen to the lectures, practice, and follow all the memory techniques which I said. Okay, chalo. Bye everybody.